G'day, battlers! It's podcast time. I'm PvPSteve, unhinged edition, joined by my co-host, debbiepebble. Ba 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 ba. We're back, baby.
Hi. So
Okay, so
unhinged. So
yeah, I,
unhinged.
I really feel like we were sort of just being kept on the rails by the fact that we had guests the first 4 weeks. So here we are, without the rails. Choo choo.
When the true colours come out.
Oh no, we're in trouble.
Oh
Buckle in,
no.
guys.
Demonetized.
We were monetized.
Oh yeah, about that.
Oh man, Debbie's been getting paid for this. Anyway, yeah, we're back, I guess. So episode 5, but also episode 1 of not Road to Worlds edition. Um, so we
Post
should have
Worlds
just
edition.
the Road from Worlds edition.
Roads to Worlds 2024.
It's all road.
Oh.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's one of those things, I guess. But we're here. We're going to talk about Japan because we just spent a week and a half there. One of our first times. For one of us, it was not our first time.
That is correct.
That's you.
Oh, that's me. Oh, yes. Oh,
That was you. You've been there before.
I was just like, oh wait, we don't have a guest. Yeah. I've been to Japan a few times. So this is my third trip to Japan. I've been there during the winter. I've been there during the autumn. This was the first time in the summer. And my goodness, never again in the summer.
Yeah, I get the whole thing about we sort of had to go based on the play Pokemon schedule, and that's just when Worlds was going to be, and so we had to go in the summer. Probably not the best. Like, Japan is a lovely place. It was a very, very good trip. I really just wish it was in a different season, and I don't know how that can be circumvented if they were to ever decide to host Worlds in Japan again.
I think there was a mixture of a few things. Like Japan is beautiful. Like I would 100% go again. Um, the summer there was just an entirely new beast. Like I mean, we're both Australia. We're used to heat. So like when it's like 37 degrees Celsius, we're like, ah, yeah, it's hot, but it's bearable. But in Australia, it's a dry heat. In Japan, it was humidity, and that's when you're like, you're walking through a swamp. It's very swampy, uh, and there was a few factors happening at the same time. Obviously, Japanese summer. There was a very strong El Nino coming through. There was a typhoon, and the bottom west side as well. All these factors happened at the same time. So yeah, we were just, decided to go to Japan at the possibly the worst time this year. But hey, it was all for play Pokemon.
Yeah, and sprinkle on top of all of that, the fact that it was also Japanese school holidays as well. So it was just that slight extra little bit busier around the place as well. There could have been a better time to go to Japan, but it's much better than not going to Japan at all.
Oh, I have no regrets. It was the most, like, besides the weather, like if we take that factor out, it was the most wonderful trip. Like, that was just, we have so much to talk about today.
I guess we can sort of kick it off because we both went there for Go Fest the week beforehand, which they sort of announced the Go Fest a little bit later than they have in previous years. So they already knew when Worlds was, the Worlds date was secured, and there were sort of rumors swirling around that Go Fest was going to be either sort of the week before or the week after, but no one really knew when it was going to be. So we're sort of all just lying and waiting. Both of us, I believe we both had flights sort of booked in for Worlds, and we're just going to move them once sort of Go Fest dates were known. So we had to shift our plans around, or we paid for flexible booking, whatever, flexible flights, whatever the thingamajiggy
I
actually
didn't.
was. Oh, wait, did you not?
I didn't.
Oh,
I had to
I,
pay an extra 200 Australian to move my flight a day earlier. So I
I mean, I
paid,
basically paid the same for the flexible thing, so it sort of works out the same, I guess.
yes. But yeah, I was just like, well, okay, gotta bite that. That's fine.
We unfortunately weren't able to change the airport we were going into, so we both ended up flying into Tokyo, which is a couple hours on the bullet train, or you know, a couple hours air transfer as well to Osaka, where GoFest actually was. But we got there in the end. I ended up getting into Osaka on Saturday morning. Debbie ended up getting in on the Sunday morning. So Sunday was sort of our main like sort of play day. Saturday, I just sort of hung around with whoever was around. Sort of ran into like Twistel and Melgood, uh, Gremlin as well. And then before you got there, I guess just chronologically speaking, I guess there is the pre-Debbie portion of the Japan trip, which someone was a little bit worried about how the other one might fare in Japan on their lonesome for 24 hours. But
Maybe.
you know, we just a little bit, but we survived. And there was a big Osaka social, which was like sort of the first chance for people to start meeting each other in Japan. And it was just so awesome. Like, just seeing all of these faces that I recognized for the first time. People like Enhoff was there and DeFi and I was going to say Anacor, but Anacor, I've met at Australian tournaments before. But people like Arrow and Rise to Occasion and just all of these legendary people were just like all in this room, and you sort of looked around and you saw them all, and it was just really cool. And it was just like you sort of thought about it and were like, this is going to be what Worlds is like, but on like such a larger scale. Like everyone is going to be at Worlds. So it was really just a really nice start to sort of Japan, just to get that vibe, to start meeting everyone, and just have a really good time. But anyway, boring. Where was Debbie Pebble? So like, what's the point of this bit? Where's the fast forward button? Sunday morning.
Sunday morning. Yeah. So as Steve has said, that I got into Osaka six. No, I flew from Tokyo to Osaka. Took the first flight in the morning. It was an hour flight from 6:30. Got to Osaka 7:30. Then took the limo bus to the hotel, and
Limo bus.
that was not, it was more bus than limo. Let's put it that way.
More
And
like lamo bus, am I right?
oh god. And yeah, and that's when I texted you and I was just like, "Hey, I'm here." Which I had to wait downstairs because Steve didn't come down yet. I was like, "Oh, okay."
Okay. I had perfectly timed it. I was like, okay, she's going to get to the train station at this time. Like, whenever she's there, it's going to take her this long to get to the hotel. So I'll have this long to sort of like get sorted, get downstairs, and then sort of head in that direction, and I'll probably be able to see her. And apparently that just all went out the window because I was still waiting at the elevator when she was like, I'm here downstairs. So, look, things didn't go to plan, but we met up all the same for the first time since
Oh, see, I
OCIC. It was
see.
like back
Yeah,
in February.
back in February.
Uh,
I mean, like, not without trying from previous regionals.
yeah, look, we were meant to meet at Perth, didn't happen. Meant to meet at Sydney, didn't happen. So it was bound to happen eventually. So it just happened to be in Japan, uh, in Osaka, in a random hotel right near the train station.
Yeah.
But we got there in the end. So we were planning to go into the city on the morning of that Sunday to meet up with well, I was going to say again, for me to meet up again with Hoff and DeFi, and Stella was there as well, and DeFi's partner. So we headed on that way because and I think this is an experience that many people have already heard from GoFest, in that the city experience, with the benefit of being able to go inside a shopping center with some level of air conditioning, uh, there was some benefit to it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think for those that attended, I've heard a good percentage have said that the city experience was much better than the park experience. And the city experience, for those that don't know, it's very similar to like Seattle last year and all the other Go Fests that have run this year, is that they kind of break it into halves. So the first half, you're in the city, you're walking around, you're doing your usual, like any any other Pokemon event. And then the park experience, you're just playing within the confines of an area. So this was held at Expo 70 over in Osaka. So it was quite, I wouldn't say super far away, but it was quite an extensive walk from the train station to get there. Um, so a lot of people decided to go elsewhere to play for the city portion, but it still was maybe a good 40 minutes from where we were by train to get to Expo 70. So that was good that they had that, 1 hour interlude in between. But again, very, very hot. So having that city experience and being able to walk around, we did mainly the underground in a region called Namba. And it was great. Like there was so many stops, everything was lured. There were so many gyms around as well, and we just circled around. And I think a lot of people actually played around in Namba, but I don't think a lot of people actually played underground. I think some people actually played, just walking around in the sun as well, because we kept missing people, but we could not. We knew they were there, but we couldn't see them.
Yeah, it sort of feels like you're defeating the purpose of the benefits that you can get from the city experience that you can't get from the park experience, from hiding in the underground part. But I guess like also this is my first actual Go Fest. You're second after Seattle last year, which I was also supposed to go and would have met you there, but ended up with COVID last year instead. A nasty surprise, but apparently, yeah, I talk a lot about the curse that was keeping Speediest Chief and I apart all of these times we were supposed to meet up and it not working out for these different reasons. Apparently, there's a similar curse going on between you and I. I don't know. Suspicious.
Look, maybe we just need some good luck charms, like a rabbit's foot or something. Should have bought that in Japan.
Oh, look, there were so many shops we probably could have. But yeah, so for me, like, I'm not so much into GoFest for like it's not about the spawns, it's not about the shinies, which feels like it's sort of one of the big parts about GoFest. But for me, it was very much people oriented. So it didn't really matter where we were playing. The comfort was nice. It's like even if we could have grinded out somewhere more particular, some more optimized route, I sort of preferred to just be chill and hang with everyone for the sort of morning into early afternoon that we sort of played a bit more chill in the city session. And, still like shinies were still to be had. So, like they were still coming through. And certainly some more special ones for us Australians. Like I ended up with two shiny snowy Castforms very early on that I literally only had one in my game from that one research task they put out, the one special research or limited time research that had a snowy Castform in it, because there's not many snowy Castforms coming up on the Australian coast.
Yeah, I don't think Perth has ever snowed ever. So no, there's no. I think there was one day of fog, and I got everyone up at like 6 a.m. and I
Oh
was just
yeah.
like tagged everyone. I'm like, it's foggy, guys, go out and get us like a snowy castle. And I couldn't even get mine because I was at work. Um, but I think in summary, from what you've just said, that Steve is a casual. So
Yeah, yeah.
no, no, no. It was so hot. Like I keep bringing up the heat, but because it was so warm, it was really just I don't think you could grind, but it's not worth it for your health. Uh, I believe that what I heard was on Saturday, which was the hottest day to play. There was there was a few people that got very ill from heat stroke and other things, and it was good that Niantic was giving out water to everyone, but they ran out of water by the time we went on Sunday. So we
Yeah.
weren't handed any water. We were like, okay, off to the vending machines.
Which, as you can imagine, also sort of emptied out relatively quickly as well. So it was a little unfortunate. And like they had a lot of water. Like they gave out an absolute buttload of water in the first like 2.5 days. It just wasn't enough to sustain the last leg for the sort of afternoon session of that Sunday, which unfortunate, but it was a little less hot than the day before. It was still really bad. Like the Go Fest weekend was probably the hottest, or it felt the hottest of the entire Japan trip. It
Mm.
never felt that bad. I mean, and for me, it's on the Saturday because I was out and about a little bit on the Saturday. The Saturday in particular was just brutal. I did not want to be outside on that Saturday at all. But yeah, I am a casual, so it is just about, you know, I'm not ready to make these sacrifices. Let's just be chill. But we did the morning session in the city under a bit more chill conditions, and then we sort of parted ways with our sort of, I guess, gang one, the morning gang,
The
and
morning
we headed
gang.
over to the park a little bit earlier. And literally as we were going into, oh well, actually we met up with a fellow Aussie and previous guest on the podcast, Rick Flareon, at the train station heading towards the Osaka park. So we sort of, he was buddy number three, just the three of us ready to take on the world. But as we sort of were training along to Osaka, who did we see but another Aussie competitor, Mikey Morgs, literally at the little ticket booth thingamajiggy, to make us a merry band of four Australians. The crew just grew as we were sort of making our way towards the park, which, like, we didn't really, like, as you said, Debbie, we didn't see a lot of people by chance beforehand. So it
Mm.
was a really weird occurrence to just start growing the family that quickly.
Yeah, I mean that was the first time I met Mikey as well. Obviously, being from the Sydney region, and even though he's been on our podcast, hadn't met him in person. So I was just like, you both you and Rick are like, hey, and I'm like, who's this guy? So,
Yeah.
who's this tall
Yeah,
Australian? I don't know.
I believe he did mention that because I didn't even think of that. Like I was just like, oh, like we talked on the podcast and stuff. So like, oh, obviously everyone knows each other. And then he was like, yeah, Steve's really bad at intros. I was like, oh yeah, whoopsie, forgot about that bit. But we got their context clues in the end, right?
Yeah, the clues were there for sure. I think the Australians definitely stood out in the sea of Japanese. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, well, it got even more evident as we actually like got into the park, and we again literally just randomly ran into Valiant Vish, and Avrip was there as well. So the Australian just contingent just started to coagulate into one form, and so I wasn't like, we didn't really go in there expecting to be a gang of Aussies taking on GoFest, but that's definitely what it became.
It definitely did. I think DeFi said it best. Like, you Aussies, you guys just like really just stick together. They're just like, you add more and more to your group. I'm like, do we? And we do. I like, by the end of the trip, we certainly did.
Oh yeah, oh yes. Many of those nights were spent with a significant population, oh, probably a large percentage of the Australian population in Japan was just in our little group that kept forming night after night. But it was a really good time. So, I mean, how did you? Because again, I'm much more of a casual than you. How was your park experience for GoFest, Debbie?
Um, it was okay. Um, and that's really my opinion of it. It wasn't like the best experience I've ever had. It wasn't the worst experience I've ever had, but I think it was just okay. The decorations around the park were a little bit less than what I've seen, like, because I can compare it to Seattle. Um and they just seemed to be it just seemed to be so large, the park. So you end up really walking a lot, and I understand the game is a walking game. Um, but yeah, I felt it really dragged on. I know some people managed to speed run the entire park in, what did Lankern say? He did it in like an hour or an hour and a bit, something like that.
Yeah,
And I think we managed to pretty much finish it in two and a bit. And that
yeah,
was us stopping at each shady spot so we could just be in the shade when we could.
yeah. Yeah, and
But
I definitely echo a lot of those sentiments as well. And something that I sort of keep repeating because it just shocked me was, as we sort of first walked into the park, was like this, there was this row of trees in a row on this like sort of rectangular parky bit of rectangle. And it was like cordoned off, like it was roped off, like you couldn't go in there. And it's like there's so little shade in this park, and I can see that there is shade right here, and it is being blocked off. So you just have to try and get the little bits of shade if the trees overhanging it. And again, obviously that's not a, that wasn't a Niantic setting up the park thing. That's just a park thing. But as someone who it was my first Go Fest, the decoration did seem it was sort of underwhelming just overall. You sort of see all of these photos and promotional videos and stuff, and like people's vlogs from previous Go Fests, and it's like, oh, that's the experience that we're sort of expecting, and it just kind of wasn't there here. Which, and this is sort of preview of things to come, but it felt like the budget might have got tipped a little bit more towards Yokohama and the World Championships, because there was a lot more stuff over there that was a lot a lot more overwhelming rather than underwhelming, which was good. So
Mm.
I didn't feel like I got that experience, and I mean also we played at the Singapore Safari Zone, which I guess is actually my actual first like Niantic event experience, and that was like there was stuff to look at, there was stuff to see, and maybe some of that comes down to it being a bit more of a experiencey park as well. Like I feel like the park in Osaka was a little bit more of just like a very large park, but other than sort of the main statue at the entrance, there wasn't a ton going on. Whereas in Singapore, it was sort of like, there was a lot to look at without the Pokemon stuff. So maybe that sort of, again, sort of just raised that bar a little bit higher than Osaka was able to reach. But again, like that has nothing to do with like, it was still, I had a really good time, like
Mm.
playing with, you know, friends from all around the country. I was going to say all around the world, but we didn't play that much internationally when we got to the park. It was pretty Australian, but I
And
still had a
to
really good time.
Yeah, I mean, we did bump into Caleb and Arrow again, Gremlin
Yeah.
again. Um, I think we bumped into Nim, and I'm just trying to think. Oh, House Stark, um,
Yes.
and Robin. Yeah, we definitely bumped into some people, but we weren't looking for people. We were just kind of like, all right, let's just finish these research tasks while we're in the park. Let's just get it done. Then we were just like, all right, like head to this section now, head to that section now, and just like everyone finished, everyone done their collection challenge. All right, next. So we were pretty efficient in getting things done. But yeah, it was really nice to bump into, like you said, when you were at the social the previous night. It was just, I was like, oh, I know who you are, and yeah, it was just really nice to like actually introduce yourselves, and then they were like, oh, hey, yeah, okay, like it feels, it's weird. I think post COVID as well, like it's just seeing people in their flesh, and you're just like, that's cool. Like it just and also you can see people's heights, and I'm just it surprised me with some people. I'm just like, they're shorter than what I expected. Maybe they just angle their camera
Debbie, come
differently.
on. You met me before. You don't need to say that here.
You are slightly taller than me, so it's fine.
I'm taking that height advantage to the bank. That's all I need. As long as I can technically be taller,
Just take that. Just take it, Steve.
I'll take the win. I'll take the win. But yeah, it was a really good time. And
Mm,
again, it was sort of like a brief preview of like meeting people, and like Inadequents and Pogo Ash, we sort of like briefly saw there as well. And it was just preview of people that we were going to see the next week in a much more condensed sort of the main 3 days of Worlds in the next Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it was really cool. I really enjoyed it, but it was
mm,
nice to sort of get out of the park as soon as we could.
mm,
And it was like a really nice feature of GoFest that we could continue playing literally anywhere else in the city, and apparently a few cities over, as it turned out. But it was nice to have that ability. Like we weren't locked to having to play in the park for those
mm.
full park afternoon hours. It was nice.
Yeah, I think it on paper it sounds like a great event, and I think just the execution just wasn't quite where I wanted it to be, but it still happened. I still had a good time. Do I regret going? No. Like I still enjoyed it. I think the swans and like the gameplay when by the time we played was fine. I didn't experience any lag. Gotten plenty of the shinies. Like you know, I I was happy with the effort I put in and what I got back. I was happy with. So
Yep.
can't go wrong with that.
Yeah. No, completely agree. So it was fine for what it was. It's a soft thumbs up when, especially like we weren't in Japan for Go Fest. Go Fest was like a bonus that just happened to be happening at the same time. The main event was still like another week away. So I mean, I feel like again, this is the first time we're doing a podcast. Like I was gonna say solo, I guess duo. So I feel like rambling is gonna be like just off the charts here. I know we're not Yakovovich, but we're doing okay. Uh,
Oh, that you and him and that beef is just grinding. It's just grinding.
what can I say? What can I say? We love our OCIC 96% win rate champ. So I mean, I guess do we move on? Do we move on here? Like I mean, we don't have like I was gonna say, oh, we can have like timestamps and stuff, but that sort of only matters on YouTube where it actually puts it into the little progress bar, and we probably won't do that because why would we want people to skip bits? That would be like really mean.
uh, I suppose so. But yeah, Osaka. We rested for the night, and then next day we took a I call like a brief trip to. Oh, actually, no. Before we went to Kyoto, we went to the aquarium.
Oh, we did go to the aquarium. We definitely went to the aquarium. As it turned out, there was quite a weight up our sleeves. Do you remember what it was when we first arrived?
300 minutes to wait.
Yeah. So we sort of decided that seeing as we were planning to sort of leave Osaka later on in the day, not too much longer than that exact timer, we figured aquarium probably had to be a miss. We took some photos outside the aquarium. We went in. I got an ice cream and had a little browse of the gift shop, but that was the end of our aquarium experience in Osaka, which
But
we did our best.
then after that, we did go next door,
We
which
did.
was the food court.
Much more going on in the food court. And again, just to continue the trend of running into Aussies, who did we find but one person that you may not be able to guess just by the description of OCIC champion 96% win rate. But it was Jakobovic and his partner as well that we just sort of, again, randomly ran into, which is just like, it was such a weird experience the entire time through Japan. How we could be in random locations, and I know it's not that random in Osaka because that's literally just where GoFest was. So
Hmm.
I guess this is again just more things to come. But we could be in a random spot in Japan and run into people. It was just a wild experience and just a testament to how many Pokemon Go nerds had just been thrown at Japan from the Western world just for this Pokemon World Championships. It was really cool.
It honestly was like the mecca of Pokemon Go. It was just like, oh hey, oh hey. But I remember when I think we were walking past a KFC of some sort or something like that, and I just saw Jacob in line, and I'm like, I haven't seen like Yukovic since like in February, so I'm just like it's been at least 6 months at this point, and I was just like, is that Jacob? And I look at you, and he's like, yeah. I was like, oh good, I'm glad. I wasn't sure. Just
Yeah. You're a little bit wary, and I was like, I think I actually groaned. I was like, oh, this guy. Uh, but yeah, we sat down, had a meal. They had, they had booked in to sort of go to the aquarium. So they sort of booked their time for later on. So they were getting a feed and then they were going to go back to the hotel and then come back to the aquarium a little bit later for their actual time. Um, we
where
didn't
we
we didn't
ducked
have that
off.
patience.
No,
We
no.
ran off. We were like, wait, you guys can't get us in right now. We're out of here. We're too entitled for this. Uh, and off we went into the sunset.
Uh, yeah. So then we took the very brief train to Kyoto. I think it was like 15 minutes, where Steve fell asleep anyway, and
Yeah. Hey, it was a big go fest, okay?
it was, and then yeah, got to our hotel. Do you want to talk about the hotel in
Oh
Kyoto?
my gosh. It was the greatest hotel of all time. So, as we were booking our hotels in advance for Japan, Debbie was doing a lot of the heavy lifting. She was like sending me hotel options, being like, okay, this one's got a little bit of extra room. This one is a little bit cheaper. And, she was really, really good at it. And then she was sending me Kyoto hotels, and there were a couple of options, and I was like, yeah, okay. And then all of a sudden, there was a hotel that had dinosaurs as the check-in staff. Now, as soon as this hotel crossed that Discord chat, there was no chance that we were going to stay at any other hotel. We were going to have our hotel check in with dinosaurs, and there was anything to do to stop anyone from that happening. So, yeah, it was really cool. They were literally just like animatronic dinosaurs that were like at the check-in. You can, I know that we don't have like, it's not like the other podcasts that we've actually put in video production and we can like put like photos up on the YouTube, but you can check our Twitters because they are on there. Because it was really cool and that just move around. And I think Debbie sort of pointed out the fact that like as the animatronic sounds of the dinosaurs like moving around behind the desk sounded a little bit like keyboard typing, so it sounded like they were busy as well. Yeah, it was really cool, Debbie. I'm so glad we went.
Go up to the counter and be like, "Oh, sumimasen, dinosaur-san."
And then, I mean, I know this is again a skip, but I guess it's just the important bit because we're talking about the dinosaurs. When we checked out, they did a little bow. It was like, oh, this is awesome. It was my favorite hotel.
I was a bit disappointed there wasn't more dinosaurs within this hotel. Like, I mean, like, no, it wasn't this hotel that like the different levels were under different code names, but
Oh no, no,
yeah.
no. We were on the ninja floor in this hotel.
Oh, the ninja floor for this one. Yeah, yeah. Was it this one? It was this one, wasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Because
yeah, yeah.
I actually, when I told my mother, because I was sort of informing her how the trip was going as we went, and I was like, oh, we're staying at the Dinosaur Hotel, super cool dinosaur check-in stuff, and she was like, oh, so it's like, are the rooms decorated with dinosaurs and stuff? And I was like, Mom, that's really disrespectful. They're staff here. Treat them with some respect. They're not decorations. So I think fair enough that there wasn't dinosaur decorations. Like, imagine if there were Oompa Loompa decorations in Wonka's factory. Like, that'd really be uncool, Debbie. So, maybe lay off and just let them do their job.
Okay, okay, okay. I didn't realize I was on like Fair Work is gonna come after me on that one.
Or Fair Work Roars. Thanks for listening to the G'day Battlers podcast.
So that night, we walked around Kyoto, and we went to the ramen store. I'm pretty sure it was Ichiran Ramen, and it's where you go in, and there's a little machine at the front, and you put in your order, and then you pay through the machine. You walk through. They give you a little docket that you can select what kind of ramen that you want, like how heavy you want the garlic, how heavy you want your broth, etc., etc., etc. So after we had dinner, we walked across the street and we bumped into again, like a whole bunch of like Go people.
Yeah, well, just straight away we walked out and like we were planning our next steps, and I turned to our right and I was like, that's Alfindio. And so we called out to Alfindio, we had a chat with him, and then as we were just standing there in the middle of this like random side street in Kyoto, Inadequates and Pogo Ash come through, and we start chatting to them, and it was just such a weird. And then Niantic Ben walked past as well. It was and Swagron and Sonora Man. It was such just everyone seemed to be passing through this street, not even in the city that GoFest was, just another city a 15-minute train away that everyone just happened to be passing through on the next day. It was
It was
again,
like
it
it was half an hour of just like everyone just walking past that street, and I'm just like, we just got dinner. Like, it's not even like a busy street. It just happened to be everyone just walking past it, going, "Oh, well, we'll walk past this street."
yep. It's I mean it's where we ate. I don't know why everyone else is passing through that street. I mean Alfindio was spinning Pokestops, but
Mm.
it was I'm very glad that the universe decided that that was the coincidence that needed to happen to bring us all together because it it just made the night that much more special. I think
Mm. So when in doubt, ramen. That's what I'm hearing from this. Uh,
that does seem
and
to be the lesson.
yeah, yeah. I think that's the what I take back from Japan and those entire 10 days is when in doubt, go get some
Hmm.
noodles.
Yeah, yeah. Look, I learned another lesson while in Japan that was a similar ramen themed message. But it had to do with never giving up. But maybe that's for later in the podcast.
We'll see how far we get with this podcast. I might be in the next one. Um,
Yeah, which we didn't even mention at the start. This could get split. We don't know. Like we ram again. We're going full ramble here, so it might be appropriate to split it into a part one, part two, which probably would end up being like a part one, not worlds yet, the last little road to worlds, and and then part two, worlds time, Yokohama back in business, Tokyo Drift, Electric Boogaloo sesh party. Rock Anthem.
oh gosh. All right. Yeah. Then Kyoto, also known for the city of temples. Um, I was like, okay, we're in Kyoto. We have to go to Fushimi Inari. Like, out of all the temples that are there, known as the temple shrine of Torii Gates, and very scenic. Like, lots of people take lots of photos there, and I was like very conscious about the weather, so I was like, okay, we're gonna do it first thing in the morning. Basically, get there before anyone else does, take some quick photos, duck back, freshen up, and then check out of the hotel. So, yeah, Steve, you want to go on your experience at the shrine?
Yeah, well, I mean, as we were sort of planning to leave relatively early to head towards Tokyo, so we used it as an excuse, but we did not, take the steps all the way around. We made a pretty short circuit. So we still got some, we did the photo ops. We saw some of the shrine. There was a warning about boars and monkeys, and I did go hunting for some boars and monkeys, but unfortunately, there were never any boars and monkeys found. So, slightly disappointed on that front. Does mean that we'll have to go back when we return to Japan, not in the summer, to look for those boars and monkeys because they're out there, Debbie. We just maybe just needed to believe harder, and they would have appeared.
Yeah, yeah, let's go with that. Uh,
Or maybe my boar attracty sounds weren't good enough because I was trying, but they
he
might not have been very
was
good.
trying, and I was walking away.
I'll practice. I'll practice.
Yeah, yeah. You might want to incognito your search for ball sounds later.
What do you mean? What's all that?
Anyway, then we got to
Denny?
Tokyo.
Okay, so yeah, we bullet trained all the way to Tokyo, which again, like the train experience is so lovely as well in Japan. Like it's just, it's not the trains that we've got in Newcastle, that's for sure. they're, they're like kind of spacious and it's just kind of nice. And we've got we booked the oversized baggage so we could have our big old luggage behind us. It was just a nice experience, and also ridiculously on time as well, which much appreciated and so very different to everything here.
Very much so. And that's about, I think it was about 2 hour-ish um, from Kyoto to Tokyo through the Shinkansen. And I think we both fell asleep. And I was in the middle seat, so I was sitting next to another guy that wasn't in our traveling party. I was just like, oh, I better make sure I don't accidentally fall asleep over to the right hand side. Like, and so I was like, every 10 minutes or something like that, I'd wake up and be like, oh, okay, just making sure. Don't want to be that person. But yeah, no, it was a very, very lovely, smooth ride. We made it to Tokyo. Not the first time in Tokyo for either of us, because we both got to Tokyo at some point earlier in the trip. And then checked into our respective accommodation, and then came out and had some dinner. We went to a izakaya, so like a little bar, or like, I suppose equivalent to like a pub in Australia. And yeah, got some karage and some chippies and some Japanese soft drinks. And then we had some time after that. And I was staying with a high school friend, and he had 2 bicycles. And
He sure did.
so Chris was like, hey, do you want to borrow the bikes? Like, like the Pokemon Center is just like a 7-minute cycle if you want to head over there. And I was like, oh yeah, all right, the Pokemon Center DX closes at 9 p.m. It's only 8 o'clock. Should be right. 7 minutes to get there, hey Steve?
7 minutes was the claim. I just sending a warning out there into the universe, just in case anyone might have to be guided by debbiepebble on a 7-minute cycle anytime in the future. It might take a little bit longer than 7 minutes. How long do you think it took us to get there, Debbie?
I'm not gonna answer that.
No answer. That's all you need to hear, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else as well. This is just don't think about the number. Just go on a lovely cycle.
We had a great time.
we really did. It was a really entertaining bike ride. It was a really good time. I was quite worried because the last time, like, I was quite apprehensive around actually like deciding to cycle.
Yes,
And
you were.
I probably would have said no if I knew how long of a cycle it was going to be in advance, just because the last time that I cycled was on a little bit of a tour, like down the border of Austria, Germany, and I found myself, in a bush of thorns very quickly. My cycle strength is quite on the low side. And I was imagining like, oh, cycling through Tokyo, that's going to be like pretty crowded, because we'd barely been in the city at that point. Like, we'd basically just gotten in, gone to have dinner, and then we were talking about cycling. So I was like, I don't think I can do that cycling through crowds. But in the end, it was like relatively quiet. So like we sort of went down a lot of empty-ish streets. So it was actually a lot, like, that was sort of my major concern, just not being able to weave through people. And when there was sort of a lack of people, it actually turned out to be okay. So it actually ended up, it was a really good night, with many wrong turns made as we went, but it was fun. And I'm very glad we did it, but also it was so sweaty that we didn't need to do it again.
I think I was a bit bullish, and when you were like, oh, I don't know about cycling, like, yeah, no, I'll be right. Okay, we're getting the bicycles. Get on the bicycle, Steve.
It was for the best. It was for the best.
I just pushed my way through it. I kind of throw it back to like when you're playing a old school Pokemon game, you sometimes take the wrong turns, you go backwards, and you have to find out how to get there properly. It's just we maybe Google did tell us the fastest route, but there were some road closures and some other things, and we got there in the end. With half an hour to spare at the Pokemon Center.
Oh, maybe that much. we certainly got there with an amount of time to spare.
We got there to a point where I had 15 minutes to shop because I had to be at the service desk and the counter 15 minutes before they closed. um,
Yeah,
yeah, it was a good time. Yeah.
it really was. And we picked up some well, a plushie for Yakovovich who hadn't been able to find his Steelix plushie beforehand as well. And they obviously needed to have their plushies ready to go for their on-stream appearances in the coming weekend. So,
Which,
we
spoiler,
did
he
some
didn't take on stage.
Yeah, yeah. All
Yeah.
of that effort, all of that cycling.
Oh no, no. This guy.
This
Ah.
guy.
Oh goodness. Alright. And that was the Tuesday. So we had to get up super early the next day.
We did.
And it was
First trip to Yokohama.
It was. So from Tokyo to Yokohama is roughly, depending what train you take, can go from about 45 minutes to an hour. And luckily, it was only a short trip for this one, for this trip to Yokohama. Uh, and yeah, we got to Yokohama because we were invited. This is where we, thank you, Pokemon Company International, for the invite, where we got to see the world's pop-up store before anyone else. And let me just say that I was like a kid at a candy shop. I don't think I stopped laughing the entire time I was in there. So there's gonna be a lot of footage in the future vlog of just me laughing consistently and just patting all the plushies. But Steve, you want to go on about your experience at the or before going into the pop-up store?
Oh, I mean, yeah. I was just I've edited about like as we were recording this, I've edited the first third of my vlog, and there is certainly I have footage of Debbie laughing at various plushies throughout the entire experience. It was a very regular occurrence. I don't think I'd seen Debbie that happy on the whole trip until that moment. The Pokemon Center just it was stacked, but
I was broke.
I guess
They broke me. They broke me.
They knew your weakness and they drove it through. Thank you, Pokemon Company International. But seriously, it was insane, the Pokemon Center, because again, we'd been to the one in Tokyo. I'd been to the one before you got there or one of the ones in Osaka as well, and they're sort of like relatively small, like they're sort of well contained. They're like a small store size. This behemoth, this monster of a store was absolutely massive. It just twisted and turned, and it kept going and going. And I think like relatively early on, I sort of asked you like, oh, does it just sort of like go around there and then that's it? And you were like, yeah, probably. And then we sort of got around, and then there was another turn, and then there was another turn, and then there was another turn. It was like, oh my gosh, this is huge. And it was all filled with Pokemon stuff. Like, it was just like the biggest congregation of Pokemon things that has ever been collected on the human earth. It was just ridiculous. That all the different clothing items and the TCG stuff and the Go stuff, and just it was a little hecky. There was a lot to look at.
It was like you said. I've been to previous Pokemon centers, so whether it's Singapore, I've been to several in Japan, so I'm quite acquainted with it. This was like a full department store. Like, and yeah, like you said, it had different categories. So as soon as you go in, it's all the Yokohama theme stuff. So theme for worlds, you've got your Sprigatito, you've got your Fukueko, you've got your Quaxley, everything with like the sushis and the Django and the teas, and you got your Pikachu with ramen. Like that's the iconic logo for the whole thing, right? Everything that's can be put that logo can be put on anything was available. So they've got the whole kitchen and bento box set and chopsticks and chopstick holders. That you've got, your Switch covers, you've got t-shirts, you've got backpacks, you've got anything you can think of that can be put a logo on it. It's probably on there. Then you're moving into, like you said, all the cards that are available, all the TCG boxes that were available. They went really quick. All the sleeves, everything that any card lover would want. And then more plushies, more little trinkets of things. Then to clothing. And clothing, it was very much like Yokohama themed. So obviously you got your your Pikachu on your Lapras, all that design set. You've got just like Pikachu with a sailor's hat. You've got Ramen Pikachu. You've got the hoodies that were beautiful but a bit expensive. And then we thought we were done, right? We thought, okay, all the Yokohama stuff, yep. Then turn around the corner. What do we see? Gen 1 to Gen 5 plushies everywhere. You think you're missing a plushie? It's here somewhere. And I looked at my basket, and at this point, my bag was full. And I was just like, oh no. And literally had to go through my bag, run to the back of the store and put things back. Because I had a budget in mind. Like, I was like, okay, no. I am an adult. I pay my taxes. I need to control this. And had to put a few things away. Like my little Tatsugiri chopstick holder. I was like, nope, that's gotta go. Sorry. I had to put something else away as well. I was a bit sad about it. I was like, no. Because I was like, okay, this is... And being Australian as well, we don't get any of this. Like, at least if you're in America, you can buy things from the Pokemon Center website and you can get it sent to your house. It will arrive within a week. In Australia, we don't have official merchandise. So having seen Gen 1 to Gen 5 available to you, you're just kind of like, this is my only chance to get anything from here because we're not going to get it again. These only get released every now and then. Even if you go to a Pokemon Center in the future, they might not stock that particular Pokemon that you want. And it might not even be someone's favorite. So the fact that everything is available for choice, it was like, okay, all right, let's go. So yeah, I was umming and ahhing on a lot of things. I ended up with a little Clefairy to take home. I reined it in hard. And then Steve got his iconic.
Oh, finally! After at OCIC, I didn't have a plush, and Debbie sort of lent me her Singapore Safari Zone Pikachu, which I think I had on stage the first battle, but I didn't have on stage the second one. I think I left it behind. And then I did lose that second one, so maybe that means something. But then, there you go. And then, we finally get here. As you said, Australians don't get access to the Pokemon merch. We can't buy things from the Pokemon Center. They don't ship to our houses. They don't have them available in Australia. It's sort of like it's eBay or bust, essentially. If you even want to consider any sort of Pokemon merch, it's like we just literally have to buy it from third-party sources if we want it, because we literally cannot purchase it. And so it was all there, and I was finally able to get the Wailmer plush that will now live with me until the end of time. I was sort of always holding out hope for maybe like a really big one, like a really fat Wailmer plush. But this one that is more reasonably sized is probably for the best whenever I bring it in my luggage for the future. So I think
it's an XXS. It's a baby one. It's okay. It's just like you, a baby one.
Aww.
But yeah, I remember you looking around and be like, Debbie, it's not here. I can't see it. It's not here. It should be right here. It should be right. It's not on the decks. It's not like in Dex order. It's not here. And I was just like, oh, okay. You look to the other side. You're like, ah!
Yeah, I was accidentally recording. So I was holding my phone sort of like just in my hand, like halfway down my chest, facing upwards, like you got the upshot from my chin, and we were looking at the plushies, and then I was like, yeah, I feel really ripped off here. Like Whale was just not here. Like I think it was, there were sort of two walls of plushies, and we were looking at the first wall, and it was like Gen 1, Gen 2, and then it started Gen 3, I think. And then it was like, oh, Whale, like, it feels like it should be here. I don't understand. Whoa, where is it? And then you see me in the video sort of like turn and look over to the other side of the room, and I just like audibly gasp, and then just like bolt over to the other side of the room. And after finally seeing the Whalmer plushie, it was an experience. The highs and lows were immense.
I think I was happy, but you were ecstatic as soon as you saw that. I was like, oh yay, the whale boy finally got his whale. um, so yeah, no, very, very happy. And then we walked to the counter and did damage to our credit cards.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a famously cheap person. I don't spend a lot of money on anything. This is certainly the largest retail slash merchandise purchase I've potentially ever made. Quite frankly, it's uh, it it was new, but I mean, my partial excuse was I did need new socks, so those GBL socks really came in handy.
They did, and they're very stylish. I think, yeah, they're a good fit for you though for that one. Um, yeah, I came under budget. My budget was 500, so I came under budget, so I was quite happy with that. Well, I wasn't sure by the time of the conversion of yen to Australian dollar, but I was just like, all right, cool. Because I also got some gifts for others as well that couldn't make it, so made sure that they were covered as well. But yeah, no, it was a great time. We filmed a lot in there as well, and yeah, it was just really it was awesome also to meet the other creators that were invited as well. And I'm sure there's a few photos of that floating around of other creators. And um Steve, Pokemon Cast also live streamed it as well because I got a few messages going, I see you on the stream. And I was like, well, I'm not looking at the stream because I'm going ballistic with all the plushies right now. So I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm not paying attention to his stream. I'm just going nuts.
Yeah, no, it was cool though, and it was our first time seeing Zoe in Japan as well. We hadn't sort of met up with her before that,
Mm,
which uh is, oh, I mean, obviously you get to see her a little bit less. I, live in the same city, so obviously she's around here somewhere. Uh, but she's so busy, that Zoe girl. Going to these Japan things and going to Go Fest New York. It turns out you just have to go to, you have to go to Asia to find her. I actually think that, oh, maybe, oh no, I was going to say, I thought we did a lucky trade there as well, but we actually did that right before we left. Traded our car binks over. But
that's right, yeah.
it was Singapore that we did our lucky trade after
Mm.
sitting on it and not doing it in Newcastle for a very long time. But, you know, uh, we might be lucky friends again, actually. I feel like we might have re-luckied. But regardless, it was really good to see her and sort of like meet
Mm.
a lot of other people as well.
Mm.
Meet slash re-see sort of different experiences between the two of us. Like Gabby Snyder was there in line.
Mm.
Obviously there to cast Pokemon Go for the World Championships, and like Necro was there, and
Mm.
like Glitch and Agent V.
Mm.
It was there was a lot of people there. Like it was a really big collection of like cool people.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Like, I was looking around. I'm just like, yeah, that's been on my YouTube recommendations. Yep, that one as well. That one as well. Yeah, and I was just like, this is really cool. Like, it's honestly, and everyone was just so lovely. Honestly, like, you could just go up to people and be like, oh hi, like, I really enjoy your content, and it was nice to meet you, and they were just happy to just chat, and it was honestly like such a cool vibe because I think because everyone was so excited about this as well, and seeing the merch, and just happy to be there. I think it really was like this whole entire, 9-10 days experience. It's just it was an entire festival that we had. Like, I know we're talking about Go Fest, but honestly, it was an entire Pokemon festival. And this was just a start. This was just a start. We haven't even started about Worlds yet, and we were already so hyped up for everything.
Yeah, this was sort of the day one of the Yokohama experience. On the like, this was wait, was Wednesday?
That
Wednesday,
was Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday, and World started Friday. So
Mm-hmm.
there was still a long run up to go before the actual championship started. So, but yeah, it was really cool. And obviously, obviously we got to see the king himself, Alan Surprise,
Yes.
the legendary man himself. Uh,
Well, it's
one of
my
the
first
greatest
time.
humans out there.
It was the first time I've met Alan. And ah, just the chillest of vibes. My God, that man. I was just like, oh, you're such a dad. I love it. Oh, yeah, no, it was just, it was great. And then after the pop up center, we briefly got some sort of meal and met another Australian.
Yeah, hang on. It feels like our Aussie sense is twitching. There hasn't been enough Aussie congregating yet. Where are the Aussies, Debbie?
Well, happened to be a 15-minute walk away was Fishy Legs too. So um yeah, so he arrived the day before and was just giving us a quick message going, "You guys free?" And we're just like, "Yep." So we all ended up in the Cup Noodle Museum straight afterwards.
Yeah, it was very random, like random in the sense that it was all of a sudden the two of us in Fishy Legs, and then random that all of a sudden we just ended up in the Cup Noodle Museum, which wasn't exactly on my itinerary for the day, but uh, it worked. We ended up there, and we had a lovely time, and were inspired by an endearing message written up on the wall: "Never give up." It felt like a real war cry going into the World Championships on the Friday.
Well, Fishy Legs too did say if he managed somehow to win Worlds, that he said he was going to quote that exact that exact quote, going, "Well, I went to the Cup Noodle Museum, and I saw on the wall, 'Never give up.'" So he was, and I was like, "Oh, it just didn't happen for him this year, but maybe next year."
Look, I'm sure those words will stay with Fishy Legs for the rest of his life. So I'm sure he'll have many opportunities to quote the famous words that just speak to us all from the wall of the Cup Noodle Museum. Never give up.
Um, and I think also you bumped into.
Yeah, the
Uh,
Fitzies,
yes,
the
that's right.
team Fitzy happened to. Well, we went and got a meal. We had some burgers, and then we sort of came back and were passing by the ramen museum again, and Team Fitzy was all just standing outside. So Buckeye, Fitzy, and Khaleesi, and like they had the full crew, sort of ready to take on the world championships, and it was uh it's cool to see them. And again, the just that vibe of randomly seeing these Pokemon people all over the place, uh, that you like recognize from online, and it's like, you sort of always wanted to meet these people, and like, you sit there jealous on Twitter that like these guys all get to go to like the North American Play Pokemon regional championship tournaments and like
Mm.
meet each other over there. And it's like, oh, if I could just go to one and meet all of these humans. And the humans are all coming to Japan. So it was,
Mm-hmm.
again, just uh, something, I guess it goes back to the sort of like, it's like stereotypically sort of Pokemon bringing people together in the sense
Mm.
that it literally brought everyone to Japan. And so with that many of us there, we were bound to just keep bumping into each other as we sort of stumbled around the country. So it was really cool to see them as well before
Yeah.
we sort of, I guess, just stumbled around Yokohama and explored.
Yeah. So after that, we just saw some of the Pokegenic artwork that was around because there was several of them. There was so many of them, and we didn't get around to seeing all of them. But took some snaps of some of the artwork. So there was the Beautyfly wings that was just straight across from the Cup Noodle Museum. There was some like love discs on the wall. What I really liked was those little what would you call them, totems, or those like stone carvings that you usually see before you go to the Elite Four.
Mm.
And that was just underneath a bridge, and I thought that was pretty cool. I'm like, oh, they should have put them like right before you walk into the entrance of the Pacifico. That would have been really cool. But yeah, there was just so many things to take photos of. It was definitely like a photographer's, like an Instagram influencer photographer's dream. You would have content for like at least 6 months by just taking anything from there. So
Hmm.
it was yeah, it was really really cool just to just see it just randomly. You walk around and be like, oh, there's a ferret. It's just suddenly in the bushes,
Yeah.
like in the middle of the shopping center. I was like, oh, there we go.
Yeah,
Um,
and again, this sort of harks back to what we were saying about the Go Fest, where like Go Fest felt a little bit undercooked as far as having all of these experiences and photogenics and stuff. It was all in Yokohama. It was everywhere, and
mm,
it was like so cool. And I think I said this exactly. If a sort of slightly underwhelming photogenic etc experience in Osaka was the cost to have this experience in Yokohama, it was well worth it. It was so cool. I loved
oh,
it.
I don't think there was like any like every 10 meters we'll see something Pokemon related. Like honestly, it was just like walking through Yokohama and be like, oh well, the train station's decorated in everything Pokemon. I saw some videos where people were tapping their Suica cards and it would just say Pikachu. Like, it just I was just like, oh, it's just so Pokemon centric. Like it was honestly like if there was it was like the entire town was just covered in Pokemon, that it felt like what Disneyland would feel like, but an entire town of Pokemon instead. Like, I don't even know how to translate it. It was just, yeah, like I think I already said it before. It was the Mecca. Like honestly, it was just everywhere and anywhere. I was just like, oh, okay. Oh no, that one's also Pokemon themed as well. Oh, okay, that's also Pokemon themed. Oh, the vending machines are also Pokemon themed.
It's cool. I mean,
Hmm.
what can you expect but a world championship in Japan to be something like this? Like,
Hmm.
it was just awesome.
It was, and I want to go back. But anyway, not in summer.
Not in summer.
Disclaimer, disclaimer.
Hashtag go to Japan, just not in summer.
Yeah, 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 yeah. But yeah, that was even, we weren't even staying in Yokohama yet. That was just Wednesday, right? And Thursday we went back to Tokyo that night. And then I can't remember what we got for dinner. I can't remember. And
Yeah, I
oh, I
couldn't
do
tell you.
remember. It was a really cheap meal that Chris got us.
Oh, yeah. Yep, yep. It's all coming back now
And
with
then we
with
what?
a robot waiter that didn't actually serve us, and we just had human human waiters.
It was unlimited drinks at the like vending, like those little machines that you usually see in like salad bars or Sizzler or whatever, like those kind of things. Wait, do you guys have
Little
Sizzler over
soda
in Newcastle?
fountains.
In Newcastle, do you have Sizzler?
Um, I feel like they're all shut down these days.
Okay,
I
yeah,
think.
but like that unlimited soft drink kind of, yeah, serving area. And then we went to Akihabara and just walked to the streets of Akihabara and met some lovely people.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Oh,
No comment.
is that how far we're going to go with that one? Okay.
Look, we had a pleasant stroll.
And cut.
Thanks for listening to me.
just end it there. Just end it there. No, yeah, it was really cool to see, like, you know, I suppose Akihabara is known for the very anime, very pop culture based area. So there was a lot of vending machines. There was a lot of like nightlife around. It was just kind of cool to just walk around and just see something different. Not something that I would like to see every day, but it was kind of cool to just be like, oh, okay, yeah, this is different. And then yeah, the next day, Thursday, was when we had to be in Yokohama because we had to check in because this is basically the start of our basically the world's portion of our trip.
Yeah. The Yokohama Central, everything go go go. 'Cause Thursday was the day that all of the competitors had to check in. When spectators picked up their badges, like competitors got their goodies. Like it was the day that everyone had to be in Yokohama, ready for the World Championships the next day.
Mm-hmm.
So it it, it it's when it all became really real, I think.
Mm.
Uh, so we didn't quite finish up in Tokyo yet. We did do one little stop in Shibuya. Check out the crossing. Uh,
Mm.
hit up Starbucks for me to get my first hot chocolate of the trip. As I had some troubles in finding a single hot chocolate. I was very disappointed. I'm a hot chocolate man. I don't know what to say other than that. But we hit up the Pokemon Center in Shibuya as well. We checked out the Nintendo store that's immediately across from the Pokemon Center. Oh, and that's the Pokemon Center with the Mewtwo as well. The
Yes, the
the famous
Shibuya one.
Mewtwo.
Mm-hmm. With the everyone's posing in front of it. I think we've got some photos of you posing with it. So,
Yeah.
and we bumped into a few creators while we were there, and that was quite fortunate for us. Oh yes, and at the Shibuya crossing as well, they had the world's trailer
Oh,
playing the entire time, or like every now and then, and I was just
yeah.
like, this is really cool. Like the busiest crosswalk in the world, and they've just got it plastered all over these large screens of Pokemon Worlds of the trailer, and I was like, that's pretty cool.
And we were able to get a selfie of us with the Goldengo scene at the Shibuya crossing. So we got to tweet that, and wasn't that the most important thing?
It was, it was. I think because you never know. Next year might be the Goldengo meta with the Salamence
Hmm.
and the Melmetal. Oh, it's all coming.
Look, they're gonna give Goldengo Make It Rain, and it could legitimately be an alright PvP mon. So I wouldn't sleep on it for next year, but might have been a little bit premature for the 2023 video.
Oh, it's all gonna happen. It's all like we like lock that in now. We'll clip this audio right now and we'll play it in a year's time. just just so that you can say I said it back in, August of last year.
In episode 1 of off the road to worlds to addition to the worlds, the road to the worlds, the road from the road to
off
worlds road,
off the
episode 1 of episode 5, uh,
off
uh,
the off the rails edition, because then it's
of,
not no longer road to worlds, it's off the rail to world.
off the rails to worlds. I don't know. I mean, we've obviously figured it out by now, right? I'm sure we haven't uploaded this unnamed, right? We wouldn't have done that.
No, of course
Debbie,
not. Of course not.
that
Yeah,
doesn't
no.
sound like it. I swear, if this thing has just been uploaded, it's just like a 5. I, I don't know.
Five dot
I wonder if there's,
Japan
I
2023. Just
wonder if there's a character limit on these things. Like, I'm sure some of the platforms have got character limits, like
I feel
because we're on
like if
Spotify
anyone
and
is
Apple.
going to test character limits, it's going to be you. Okay.
What? Steve 7? Is that? What are you talking about?
If anyone's going to test character limits, it's going to be you.
Well, I'm glad
Oh,
I have my in-game name to know what the character limit for Pokemon Go usernames is.
oh, goodness me. I think we're going to have to save the rest for another podcast because that's already
Yeah.
half of our trip. We've got another half to go, and yeah, it's all about worlds next one.
Yeah. So I guess we've sort of ended up with like episode 1 being the Japan trip part of it, sort of like the bits and bobs, the Go Fest, the trekking back and forth, the little experiences here or there. And so it is just bulk world championship action set up for episode 2. It's like we planned it. It's like we've just left the such a cliffhanger. I mean, how are people going to figure out who the world champion is? I guess you'll just have to tune in. Maybe next week for for episode 2 or episode 6, depending on how you/we are counting them. Off the rails to Road to Worlds edition.
Unhinged in brackets.
Unhinged.
Thanks for listening. Check out our
Yeah, I mean,
socials.
yeah, do that. At G'day Battlers on all the things, the Twitter thing and the
The
YouTube thing,
Is it called X now?
and
Yep.
oh, do we have to call it X? Can't we
People have
just?
been using X. I don't know.
Actually, I did see Battle Cat's new episode, their first post world episode. They have updated their thingo to say X instead of Twitter.
Mm,
Ah, I mean, look, the Twitter.com hyperlink still works, right? So,
for now.
uh,
Yeah.
well, for at least this episode, I'm calling it Twitter. So we'll see. Stay tuned till next time to see if that changes.
Also, check
Uh,
out our Twitter banner. We changed that recently.
oh, we did. We probably should have tweeted it. Maybe we will have tweeted it by now as well. That was a
Maybe
good photo.
maybe we'll tweet it when we
Yeah.
publish this. Use that
Oh,
picture. Maybe. We'll
could
think
do.
about it.
I mean, you'll think about it. Look,
Maybe.
just follow us on Twitter, please. Make the number go up. We need the dopamine, please.
Thank you all. See you guys next time.
Okay, bye.
Whoa, real unhinged
Whoa.
now.
Yeah, that's right. If you don't watch out, I might even say the word dang.
Wow.
Okay, I might be a bit heated. Let me cool down a bit.